this boy. I could have killed him. I could have killed him. I didn't want to kill him. I was just curious. So I could have taken a gun if I had one available. Ugh. So, and then what's going to happen? And you shoot. Right? So then in that case, I don't think you actually accumulate the karma of killing. You don't want to kill them, in other words. But those two girls, they wanted to kill the other girl. That was their intention. That's why they took a knife. It's always different if you take a knife that is much more physical. And I stabbed her 29 times. I think it was that many times. I forget now. It's just recent. It's not very long ago. Maybe a year ago.
Yeah. If someone is the killer, and he's get the habit to kill, so
we're
from
born
the
with
Buddhist
habits.
perspective, if in the next incarnation, he might be killed because of the habit.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I told some of you the story that oh my God, it's just about me, but I was born with a habit to steal. This was beside the story, but I actually, since I was very little, I would always steal things. And my parents did not teach me that. My sister didn't do it. I would always steal things. Yeah, I had this habit, I know for sure. And I had to stop myself when I grew older. Right? So there's habits that we're born with. Yes?
You said that when one is working according to his habits, negative habits, then the karmic keeper is stronger.
Yeah.
It seems like there is no big intention there.
Yes,
but
yes.
actually, because of the habit,
it gets stronger. Exactly. The stronger the habit, the stronger the karma.
Although the intention seems to be very weak.
Yeah. So it's a lot of factors that make an action more powerful.
You might not have a great anger, but you kill. You kill the intention, but the intention is not very strong. Yet because of
the tendency.
The video games you're talking?
No, in real life.
In real life.
There's intention, but we said that the stronger the intention, the stronger the evil, right? For example, for the child,
with anger, it's what? Intention is intention.
No, but there's a difference.
5 years old
killing in order to eat or killing in order to kill.
I said for the 5-year-old child.
So this is different, yeah.
I said for the 5-year-old child, he knows that he's going to kill a spider.
Yeah.
He knows that he might not know about reincarnation, but he knows that he's going to kill the spider.
Yeah.
So we say, but it does not have an anger. It doesn't want to. It's not through attachment he wants to eat it, but he has the habit, and because of the habit, the karmic imprint is very heavy. Although we might say he doesn't have the anger or attachment or whatever, the habit makes it very heavy karmic.
That's exactly the way I've also learned it. If the tendency, if the habit, like there's a strong tendency, like let's say I have a strong tendency to kill, Nissim doesn't, and we both kill, similar motivation, similar an action, like similar way of engaging in the action and similar completion. Because my tendency is there, my action will be stronger. It's just one of those factors that make an action stronger. Right? A tendency, I don't know why, it's just all the causes and conditions coming together. So the tendency is one. So therefore we have to, in order for positive actions, we need to strengthen the tendency. Of course, we are more likely to do it again, to engage in virtuous actions again. But I guess the stronger the tendency, the more natural the act becomes. I guess it's a little bit like that. If you think about if you have a strong tendency to be generous, it's not so much faking. It's more natural because you have that tendency. So it's more natural, and therefore there's something more powerful about the action in itself. So then you can refer that, you can take it to something negative. Again, it just comes much more natural. There's probably less inhibition, like you have this habit. It comes natural. There's this drive. There's more force to the action. It would make total sense.
And there's no conflict about good or bad. If you get used to it.
Well, there could still be, because you have been taught you shouldn't do it. But you don't listen to that voice to the same degree, because the tendency may just overpower your sense of reason. Right? Does that make sense? Did you want to add something, Cheryl, or no?
Having the habit is getting closer to the spontaneous.
Spontaneous, yeah.
Which is the goal.
Exactly.
It's about the wisdom.
Yeah.
The wisdom is spontaneous. Is stronger.
absolutely. It's stronger, it arises quicker, it is just more powerful in its execution. So yeah, it makes total sense. So it's important. This is not mentioned. Well, it is mentioned, like the absence of a tendency as a hindrance to generosity. But yeah, so in a way,
It's effortless.
yeah, it becomes spontaneous and effortless, exactly. And if it's a negative action, the more effortless it is, the more negative it is. Yeah, very good.
It's also reasonable because one of the effects of karma is the habit itself.
Exactly, that's true. Yeah.
So
In terms of habit, yeah, of all the bases, the habit, etc. Exactly, yeah, the habit itself also plays a part in karma. Good point, yeah, very good. Other questions? Okay, let's continue. I waited long enough. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we have a little bit more time. I would like to finish generosity.
You don't have patience for patience.
No, no patience. I have no patience to start with patience. But of course, if you have further questions, you can always mention them in class. We don't necessarily need to just do it during the question and answer time. But yeah, allow me to finish. Oh yeah. And there really isn't much. I would still like to do some meditation on ethical conduct, because I haven't really done any. So that we would be able to finish this material, and then we have 10 minutes of meditating on it, and we can go for dinner. Okay. All right. So being able to. So now the next part is the ethical discipline of acting for the welfare of living beings. Oh no, we already did that. Sorry. So that's already the last type of ethical conduct is the one working for the benefit of sentient beings. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And then how to practice. So here how to practice, as before, also how to practice was explained in connection with the 6 supremacies and the 6 other paramitas. So this is explained here again. The 6 supremacies with regard to the paramita or the practice of the paramita of ethical discipline is the supreme basis, the motivation for the action, bodhicitta, the wish to become enlightened. Supreme things. Here supreme things because it's nothing you give. So the things or the objects here would be, so the supreme object would be the supreme recipient. Thinking that how kind the person is to give me the opportunity to practice. Oh, there was a dog walking past there, and you could actually see the outline. And I thought it was here, and it was just a shadow. But anyway, so the supreme things or the supreme objects are becoming aware how kind the person is to give us the opportunity to practice patience, practice generosity. So very important, this idea. Again, as I said early on, we may have the sense they owe us. No. We owe them. So on top of us giving them, we owe them because they've given us that precious opportunity to really have that attitude. Okay,
But
so
now we have an ethical conduct, so how?
oh, nee, sorry. Sorry, you're right. You're right.
You said there's nothing to
I got confused. Supreme ethical so the person who we refrain from killing, the person we refrain stealing from. So in other words, other sentient beings are whoever enables us, whoever allows us to be ethical, they are responsible, and therefore the supreme object is here, whoever we refrain from harm from. Exactly, yeah. So it's the harm to refrain from killing. Whoever we don't kill, they're very kind. Yeah, the insects, very kind. You know, they give us the opportunity to not kill them. Okay, that we don't lie to people. You know, everyone in this room is very kind because not talking to them. You know, very kind. I can practice the morality or the ethical conduct of refraining from the 4 known virtues of speech. All right, and that's also the other one. So basically all sentient beings, anyone who is my object of refraining from harm. That's the supreme object. The supreme aim is the quick enlightenment of all sentient beings. So the supreme basis is my motivation to become enlightened, but the main aim is other people's enlightenment, the quick enlightenment. The supreme skillful means, again, the practitioner, the person who refrains from harm, the action and the object, They're illusionary. They're like, or like illusions, I should say. They're like an illusion. They appear to be inherently existent, but they don't. To keep that in mind, also every now and then, if we can bring this to mind, when we refrain from negativities, that makes the action super mundane, not just mundane wordly. It's not a wordly action, but it actually takes it beyond the mundane. Okay. Then there's the supreme dedication. Dedicating all our merit to others, right? Dedicating it for the benefit of others. And the supreme purity is to engage in the action with pure thoughts. Here, impure would be the obscurations. Purity is the thought wanting to overcome the obscurations. Of course, it's again, of course, the benefit of the sentient beings. Yeah, main goal. All right, so those are these 6 supremacies with which we should do the action. And then there are the 6 perfections. So generosity, I mean, we are basically generous in the sense that the generosity in particular of working for the benefit of sentient beings. It's like giving to sentient beings. Also refraining from harm, that's also a type of giving. It's giving of fearlessness, exactly. So giving of fearlessness is the same as refraining from harming. It's a type of course, there's other ways of giving fearlessness, but definitely if we ourselves refrain from harm, we give fearlessness. If we accumulate virtue, we give fearlessness. Right? It's a type of generosity. There's ethical conduct that's associated with accumulating virtue, which is giving to people. That in itself, that's also generosity. And working for the benefit of sentient beings, the ethical conduct and working for the benefit of sentient beings, again, is a type of generosity. Okay. Generosity of the Dharma. All right. Then patience, again, we bear the hardships. If you have vows and there's certain things you can't do, that may be a hardship, at least for some time. So with regards to the vows, sometimes people find them restrictive. Now, if they're really restrictive for a long time, as monks and nuns, then it's difficult to remain a monk and nun. You need to find a place where there's incredible freedom. There's freedom in having those vows because you don't have to make a decision. There's no question about it. Am I going to have my hair long or short or curly or whatever, blonde or blue? No, don't have to make a choice. I'm liberated from having to make that choice. What kind of clothes am I going to wear? Well, I'm free from having to make that choice. So there's a sense of freedom in there, but if that's not experienced, then very difficult. So there's hardship involved, possibly at times, but the hardship is not because of the vow, it's the attachment. The hardship is not, we associate it with the vow, and respect the vow, but really, or break the vow, but really it's the attachment. We can't do what we think gives us happiness. So there's a way in which one finds it liberating, because we don't have to make a decision. It's more time. Okay? Anyway.
It's like the external discipline. It should be looked
Yeah.
as a freedom.
Yes. The moment that's what it becomes, in the moment you see it as if you don't have freedom, well, that's what it becomes. So it's just a matter of attitude, actually. If we can see the benefit of it, that's what's important. To see how it's done for our own benefit, and if it's done for our own benefit, well then, how we can be happy about it, right?
It's the same with renunciation. If you still want to do what you used to, it's very, very hard. But when you realize what it's giving to you, what the possibilities.
It's true. But the thing is, like, no one imposes this onto you. But being a monk or nun, in a way, it's like an external discipline because you've taken the vow from a lama. Usually it's not like you've made the promise to yourself. Another person has basically, so there's like an extra, it's almost like an imposed kind of, So we made that choice, and in a way, I'm bound by that commitment that I've made. Or like being in an institution where I was educated, it was very strict, and I had the choice to leave or to do, and I found, and it's joyful to actually do this. I mean, it can be, but we have to find that place of joy, right? And we have to really ask ourselves, where is this coming from? You know, like, of course, at some point, I'd be free. I can bake. You know, when I finish my studies, I knew I didn't have to keep that discipline, but it's been helpful. It's been helpful. It's helped me. I don't think I would have been able to keep the same discipline if I hadn't been educated in that way. So I'm quite grateful to it. But I'm sure there were times when I thought, oh, you know, oh, how annoying. But I did it anyway. And then when I did it, I felt good. So it was like, yeah, you have to do it, and then you don't really want to do it, but you do it anyway. And then if you've understood the need for it, well, you feel good afterwards. Yeah. So anyway, so there's a lot of talk of this, but there's a lot of discussions on this. But still, I do see, of course, if it's not enforced, it depends on who enforces the discipline. If you feel it comes out of their pure heart, then it's very easy. If as long as the Dalai Lama, for example, were to tell me, from now on, I would totally. So it's very important for the person who does the discipline, like if it's in a monastery, if it's like the abbot, to show the purity of thoughts, for the people to know it comes out of deep care. That's very important. Then it's easy, like parents. You know, if you have loving parents who make strict rules, but you know they do it only, and it's not because they just want you to follow their advice, right? They just want you for the sake of it. It always makes a difference, understanding that, right? Okay. Anyway, so going back to this part here, so the patience, as in like to be able to bear the hardships. So it's a part of patience, right? To bear the restrictions, to bear the hardships, and possibly abuse from others. You know, if we refrain from negative actions, it may have the consequence of being abused by others. I mean, because someone would not agree. I don't know, maybe if you refuse to kill someone and everyone is like, oh, you should have, right? And then there's, of course, diligence, joy. Very important, joyful action, to feel joy, to have that opportunity. It's so precious to have the opportunity, so rejoicing in it, to find joy in it. So ethical discipline combined with joy, with making an effort, and the effort is joyful. Then concentration, focusing on it, being focused, being single-pointedly focused on not harming someone. And then wisdom, as described before, the wisdom of perceiving the person, you yourself, the act of refraining from any harmful actions, and the recipient who is now not harmed as lacking inherent existence.
This is the same that is difficult, because then why I keep more fun?
Pardon?
If the recipient and the action doesn't exist, why?
Wait. Did I say they don't exist? They exist, of course they exist. They don't exist inherently. Of course they exist. They don't exist the way they appear. You know, you appear to be so solidly over there. So I don't kill you. It's like I'm not just not killing a conventionally existent person, but there seems to be a solid person there. I refrain from, you see, if I don't have a sense that I don't exist inherently, I'm actually strengthening, it becomes a samsaric action. Even positive actions. Positive actions, if I have a strong sense that I exist inherently, then it becomes an action of samsara. It becomes a cause for samsara. So I don't want my positive actions to become a cause of samsara. So I remind myself that even though it seems to me there's an inherent person who makes the decision, I'm not going to kill, that is just an illusion. There is a decision making, but it's a conventionally there. Conventionally there's a decision making. Conventionally, when I say I refrain from killing, is there an I that refrains from killing? No. There's a mind that thinks I'm not going to kill. And there's a body that therefore doesn't do anything that would potentially kill someone. So on the basis of that, I impute I refrain from killing. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels there's a separate entity that is actually now refraining. So it's not just the body and the mind that just refrain. No, it seems there's also an I. So when I'm aware that such an I doesn't exist, the lack of such a self existing within the recipient, then it's not an ordinary action, I take it to a different level. There's nothing intrinsic that can be found that I can say from the side of the object, that is the one that refrains from the action. Is there refraining from the action? Absolutely, yes. But not an independent objective, the way it appears to me. So an interdependent refraining, yes. Interdependent action, yes. Interdependent recipient, yes. All that. See, that's the difference. But I'm not saying I don't exist. Of course I exist. Otherwise, why would I be here? Why would I talk that much?
I just had a funny thought.
Yes, I can see that you're
The
smiling.
the 6 supremacies are state of mind,
Yes.
which I have at the moment. I don't have them. I have to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So in generosity,
Yes.
if I try to think about each of them,
Yeah.
I'll be giving in delay.
You do what?
I will be giving. I'll give.
You be delayed. Yeah. For a good reason.
Which is
I said without any good reason. You have no good reason to delay, but there's a good reason. So, you're right. Okay, so those are the 6 perfections. And what is important? Oh, in the morning we should reflect upon not engaging in the 10 non-virtues. And what should we do in the evening? Purify. Purify. To purify. So that's important. Purification. Those 2 are so important. Accumulating virtue and overcoming that, or eliminating that which is in the way to accumulating virtue. In other words, non-virtue. Okay, so very, very important. Every night, if you have the chance to do purification practice, or it doesn't have to be purification practice in the traditional way. You could of course you could do Vajrasattva, or you can do prostrations. But even any virtuous action you engage in, to think previously, now I'm going to go out. Let's say you visit someone in a hospital. You do something really virtuous. You work for the community. Just previously, before you engage in the action, think, may this action purify all the negativities I have accumulated. So to generate regret, whatever actions you remember them. And for the rest, you feel like whatever negativities I have accumulated since beginning this time, I'm taking into consideration all those and I deeply regret them. Right? Generate regret. Take refuge in the 3 jewels, visit the sick person, and resolve to try your best not to engage in negativities. There you have. It doesn't have to be the practice of Vajrasattva. It doesn't have to be the practice of prostrations. Yeah? This is more focused because you're actually in that moment, but it can also be while you're doing an action, every now and then, to remind yourself, I'm doing this to purify negativity. To just talk to a friend, be there for a friend. So there's so much positive we can do, positive actions, and it can actually become a purification. Because prostrations themselves, there's nothing positive in swimming. You can make swimming a purification practice, right? Seriously, I mean, you're flat on your belly, okay? I mean, it's like, I'm prostrating. You know, there's the Buddha over there. I'm prostrating. That's the frustration. I mean, it's just in the mind in the end, right? So you can go swimming and accumulate, stay healthy, and accumulate a lot of virtue. Eliminate a lot of non-virtue. Okay, so those 2 are important.
is it
Yes? Is it what?
is it better to do purification in the evening for a reason?
No, I thought about this. Someone asked me the same question. I mean, usually it's like when do we start accumulating non-virtue? It's not really at night. I mean, in our dreams, yeah, well, we don't remember, and a lot of our dreams, the non-virtue is not as bad. So we start really in the morning, and it's fresh in our memory when we go to sleep. Very fresh. Oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. So the more our regret, the stronger our regret, the better. But we need to remember at least. I mean, the regret is always stronger if we know what we've done. And as I said, we don't remember 8 hours, 7 hours at night. We don't remember the next day. We remember when we went to sleep. Maybe a dream a little bit, but not much. So the point is we remember very clearly from the moment we got up until we went to sleep. So that's the best time to generate regret. But you could also go, do it the next morning, and say whatever negativities I've done the previous day, plus at night, I confess that. It's also a possibility. And if you don't remember well, you can also write down as you go along. We write so many messages. There could be an app where you can write down all your negativities. The Vajrasattva, note down your regret for the regret part.
Non-virtuous actions then.
All the non-virtuous actions, you have a code so other people can't read it. It's embarrassing. So you can kind of write it down.
We can have the 10 virtuous actions then also.
Yeah, you can kind of tick, oh, that one, that one. But of course, there are more than the 10 non-virtues. There are other actions that are not part of the 10 non-virtues, right? In terms of killing, lying, stealing. I mean, there are other things. Beating someone up. If I beat someone up, kick someone in the butt, it's neither killing, stealing, nor sexual misconduct. So there are more than those, right? So speech is pretty very all-encompassing. But then you think of the virtues, arrogance and jealousy are not part of the non-virtues of the mind. Yeah. So anyway, there's more of them, but you could have a tick list. Keep it, 8:30, 8:45, on Friday, and then you have that list. I mean, if we write it down, then we remember. It's actually quite nice, but never mind.
You can look at the five men.
Yeah, you can look at and see which ones have I. Maybe have a list of things and so, which one did I do? Which one did I do today?
Or those who try to watch their weight, and every few hours they check what they have eaten, how many calories.
Yeah, right. Like that.
What did I eat, and is it good or bad, or is it?
They have an application for it?
Sorry.
Is there an application?
For that, for losing weight, people make the effort.
Yeah, for losing weight, people make the effort. So for their physical well-being, for a thing you only have for one lifetime, they make a lot of, for the thing you carry with you for a long lifetime, for many lifetimes, we don't make the effort. Actually, it would be worthwhile to note down, to have a scale for for our non-virtues, or at least mindfulness, introspection, be helpful. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, so in the morning we should reflect on. Pardon? Oh, you had a question? You had a question?
Yeah, well, maybe you can finish it.
Oh, maybe I just finished. Okay, so as a summary, a bodhisattva's the root ethical discipline is bodhicitta. And basically we should start with the restraint as the basis, then on the basis of that we work towards gathering virtue, which we can do both together, and then working towards the benefit of all sentient beings, so we can take it to that level. So again, we start where we are. We may not have to take vows initially, but we could at least make a promise, take the Mahayana precepts for as long we want, take it for a few days. So there are different ways we need to find what works best for us to be able to engage in the practice of ethical discipline. Yes?
So tell me a question, what is the difference between merit and virtue, sonam and gewa?
Sonam and virtue.
Gewa.
Yeah, so virtue, sometimes the word is used like virtuous karma and meritorious karma. Meritorious karma is described as the virtuous karma that is responsible for higher rebirth. It's called virtuous karma and meritorious karma. But completing karma, virtuous completing karma, is not called meritorious karma. That is just how the word is used differently in the context of saying karma of virtue or karma of merit, right? But actually, merit, the accumulation of wisdom and the accumulation of merit, you usually differentiate between those two. The accumulation of wisdom is also virtuous. It's also virtue, right? But you differentiate between whatever positive virtuous karma you've accumulated in association with anything other than wisdom. So when you study, for example, when you think about emptiness in particular, in that moment, you more directly accumulate virtue, that is the accumulation of wisdom. But it's not associated, it's not called the accumulation of merit. And then when you generate love, you meditate on love, compassion, on patience, on ethical discipline. All those are associated with the accumulation of merit. And you need both. Just you need as the emotional love and compassion and wisdom. Does that explain that?
Also, someone can tell me that how do we say in Hebrew virtues?
What? It says
How
food.
do we say in Hebrew, not in Sanskrit?
It says food.
Merit virtue.
פוטנציאל זכות זה merit, ו-virtue זה...
People successful with
Sublime.
virtue.
We're asking him words.
know. That part is
Meritorious is in the conventional word, and wisdom is in the wisdom side.
Virtuous.
No, virtue is like anything that is positive in terms of karma, whereas merit